I was 24 when my mother looked me in the eye and told me I was wasting my life. We sat around the dining table at my parents' house, my father nodding in agreement while my younger sister Natalie smirked into her wine glass. I just explained my business idea, a sustainable fashion marketplace connecting independent designers with conscious consumers. My hands shook as I showed them the mock-ups I'd spent months creating. Mom set down her fork with a sharp clink. "Lena, you need to be realistic," she said. "You'll never make it in the real world with these silly dreams. You're not built for business." Dad cleared his throat. "Your mother's right. You should focus on finding a stable job. This startup nonsense is for people with resources, connections, and frankly more talent." The room went silent. My face burned with humiliation. Natalie, the golden child with her corporate law career, smiled sympathetically. "It's okay, sis. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur." I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You're wrong," I whispered. "I'll prove you all wrong." I grabbed my bag and walked out, tears streaming down my face. Behind me, I heard my father sigh. "She'll come crawling back when reality hits." My studio apartment felt smaller than ever as I sat on my worn couch, staring at my laptop screen. I had $8,000 in savings, no investors, and a family that thought I was delusional. The mock-ups stared back at me, beautiful but lifeless without funding to make them real. For 3 weeks, I barely left the apartment. I researched business models, taught myself basic coding, and reached out to designers through social media. Most ignored me. Some replied with polite rejections. My parents called twice. I didn't answer. Natalie texted. "Mom's worried. Just apologize and move on." I blocked her number. My best friend Casey stopped by with takeout, finding me surrounded by empty coffee cups and crumpled papers. "This is unhealthy," she said gently. "Maybe they have a point." I felt my stomach drop. "Not you too." She held up her hands. "I'm just saying maybe there's a middle ground. Get a part-time job, work on this slowly." But I couldn't go slow. Every day I delayed felt like proving them right. I needed to move fast, take risks, be bold. The problem was I had no idea how. That night I almost gave up. I sat with my finger hovering over the delete button, ready to erase everything. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Lena. It's Tyler Harrison. We worked together at Nordstrom, remember?" My heart jumped. Tyler had left retail 2 years ago to work in venture capital. "I saw your LinkedIn posts about the sustainable fashion platform," he continued. "I'd love to hear more. Are you free this week?" We met at a coffee shop downtown. I brought my laptop, my pitch deck, and every ounce of confidence I could fake. Tyler listened intently as I explained the marketplace concept, the gap in the market, the environmental impact. He asked tough questions. I stumbled through some answers, nailed others. Finally, he leaned back in his chair. "I can't invest personally, but I have a friend, Amanda Brooks. She runs a small fund focused on sustainable businesses. She'd want to meet you." 2 weeks later, I sat in Amanda's sleek office, my heart pounding. She was sharp, intimidating, and brutally honest. She tore apart my business model, questioned my projections, and challenged every assumption. Then she smiled. "I'm in for 50,000. But I want monthly check-ins and veto power on major decisions." I nearly fell out of my chair. $50,000. It wasn't much in the startup world, but to me it was everything. I could hire a developer, onboard designers, build a real platform. I signed the papers that afternoon, my hands shaking. That night I called my parents. "I got funding for my business," I said. Silence. Then Dad. "Don't come crying to us when it falls apart." The website launched 3 months later. It looked perfect, professional, exactly what I'd envisioned. I'd onboard 15 designers, each one excited about the platform. We had sustainable practices verified, quality standards established, and a marketing plan ready. The first week we got 3 sales. Total revenue, $240. The second week, 5 sales. Third week, 2 sales. Something was wrong. The designers started getting frustrated. "Where's the traffic you promised?" one emailed. Amanda called for an emergency meeting. "Lena, your conversion rate is terrible. The user experience is clunky. We need to fix this fast or we're dead." I hired a UX consultant who charged $3,000 to tell me everything was wrong. The navigation was confusing. The checkout process had too many steps. The mobile experience was broken. We needed to rebuild everything. But I'd spent most of Amanda's investment on the initial build. I had enough money for either the redesign or 3 months of marketing. Not both. Chose the redesign. For 6 weeks, I worked 20-hour days with a developer fixing every issue. We relaunched in January. The response was even worse. Our best designer quit. 2 others threatened to leave. My savings account hit zero. I maxed out my credit card buying Facebook ads that went nowhere. One morning, I woke up to an email from Amanda. "We need to talk about shutting this down." I couldn't let it die. Not yet. Not like this. I'd read about a major sustainable fashion conference in San Francisco. Registration cost $2,000 I didn't have. The flight and hotel would be another $1,000. I had $800 left on my credit limit. I called my credit card company and begged for an increase. They gave me $3,000 more. I booked everything before I could talk myself out of it. The conference was overwhelming. Hundreds of brands, thousands of attendees, everyone looking important and connected. I felt like a fraud in my thrift store blazer, carrying homemade business cards. I attended every panel, every networking session, forcing myself to introduce myself even though my voice shook. Most people smiled politely and moved on. On the second day, I ended up in a breakout session about scaling sustainable businesses. The speaker was Julian Pierce, founder of EcoThreads, a $50 million sustainable fashion brand. After his talk, I waited in line with dozens of others. When my turn came, I had 30 seconds. "I built a marketplace connecting sustainable designers with consumers," I said quickly. "But I'm struggling with user acquisition. What would you do differently?" He studied me for a moment. "Skip the line. Meet me at the hotel bar tonight, 8 o'clock. Bring your laptop." I stood frozen as he walked away. This couldn't be real. People like Julian Pierce didn't help people like me. But at 8 o'clock I was there, laptop ready, heart racing. He ordered 2 whiskeys and said, "Show me everything." Julian spent 3 hours dismantling and rebuilding my entire business strategy. He was harsh, direct, and brilliant. "Your problem isn't the platform," he said. "It's your positioning. You're trying to be everything to everyone. Pick a niche. Own it completely." He introduced me to his marketing director, his logistics coordinator, his head of designer relations. By the end of the night, I had a new strategy, a list of contacts, and something I hadn't felt in months: hope. Over the next 2 months, Julian became my unofficial mentor. Talked weekly. He'd ask tough questions, push me to think bigger, and occasionally introduce me to people in his network. I relaunched the platform with a new focus: emerging sustainable designers under 30. Suddenly everything clicked. We featured 1 designer per week. Their sales jumped. Other designers wanted in. Our user base grew slowly but steadily. By March, we'd done 30,000 in sales. April, 45,000. May, 60,000. Amanda stopped threatening to pull funding. The designers stopped complaining. I hired my first employee, a marketing coordinator named Brianna. For the first time I felt like a real founder. Then Julian called with a warning. "There's a company called Green Style Market watching you. They're well-funded, aggressive, and they play dirty. They're about to enter your space." I looked them up. Series B funding. $15 million. Team of 40. They'd launched a competitor platform 2 weeks ago, undercutting my prices and poaching my designers. The battle had begun, and I was completely unprepared. Green Style Market came at me with everything. They offered designers lower commission rates. They spent millions on Instagram ads. They had celebrity partnerships and PR teams. Within a month, 5 of my best designers left for their platform. Our sales dropped by 30%. Then came the legal letter. Greenstyle claimed I'd stolen their business model, their interface design, their entire concept. It was absurd. I'd launched first. But they had lawyers. I had Brianna and a mounting sense of panic. I couldn't afford legal representation. Julian connected me with a lawyer friend who agreed to work for equity. We spent 2 months gathering evidence, building our case, proving I'd developed everything independently. The stress was crushing. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating properly. Brianna kept the business running while I fought in conference rooms and conference calls. Finally, we went to court. Their lawyers were polished and prepared. Mine was good, but we looked like David versus Goliath. The judge reviewed our evidence, our timestamps, our development records. 6 weeks later, the ruling came. Greenstyle Markets' claims were baseless. They had to pay my legal fees and issue a public retraction. I won. But the victory felt hollow. They damaged my reputation, scared away designers, cost me 3 months of growth. And they were still out there, bigger and stronger, waiting for their next move. I needed to fight back, but I was exhausted, broke, and starting to wonder if my parents were right. Maybe I wasn't built for this. My phone rang on a Tuesday morning. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Lena. It's your mother. Froze. We hadn't spoken in over a year. I've been following your business online, she said carefully. I saw the article about the lawsuit. About how you won. Silence hung between us. We'd like to talk, she continued. Your father and I. We thought maybe we could have dinner. Discuss everything. Part of me wanted to say no. To hang up and never look back. But another part, the part that remembered being a little girl seeking their approval, whispered, maybe things could be different. Okay, I heard myself say. Saturday. 7 o'clock. I'll choose the restaurant. I picked a nice place, somewhere public and neutral. When Saturday came, I dressed carefully, practiced what I'd say. My hands shook as I walked in. They were already seated. Dad looked older. Mom looked nervous. Natalie was there too, perfectly put together as always. Lena, Mom started. We're so proud of what you've accomplished. We always knew you had potential. The words hit me like ice water. Always knew. Really? I said quietly. Because I remember you telling me I'd never make it. That I wasn't built for business. That I was wasting my life. Dad shifted uncomfortably. We were protecting you from disappointment. We didn't want you to get hurt. So you hurt me instead. My voice rose slightly. Other diners glanced over. You told me I wasn't good enough. That I should give up. The dinner dissolved into tense justifications and half apologies. I left early, angrier than when I'd arrived. They didn't get it. They never would. The dinner haunted me for weeks. I threw myself into work, trying to forget. But something had shifted. My parents' words, instead of hurting, started fueling me. Every doubt they'd planted became rocket fuel. I wanted more than success. I wanted undeniable, impossible to ignore success. By September, we'd rebuilt our designer roster. Sales hit 90,000 monthly. We had 12 employees now, a real office, and investors circling. Amanda brought me a term sheet from a larger fund. Series of funding. $2 million at a $12 million valuation. The catch? They wanted significant control. Board seats. Veto power. The ability to replace me as CEO if metrics weren't hit. Almost signed. The money was life-changing. But Julian's voice echoed in my head from one of our calls. Don't give up control until you absolutely have to. Stay scrappy. Stay independent as long as possible. I turned down the term sheet. Amanda was furious. Lena, you're being stupid. This is what startups do. You take the money and grow. But I'd seen what happened when founders lost control. I wouldn't let that be me. Instead, I focused on profitability. Cut unnecessary costs. Negotiated better deals with vendors. increased our commission slightly. By December we broke even. January we were profitable. Small profits but real ones. My parents sent a Christmas card. Inside a note. We miss you. We were wrong to doubt you. Can we try again? I put it in a drawer and didn't respond. I wasn't ready. Not yet. Year 2 brought explosive growth. We hit 200,000 in monthly sales. Then 300,000. Then $500,000. I hired a head of operations, a finance director, and a customer experience team. We moved into a bigger office with exposed brick and natural light. Fashion bloggers started writing about us. Sustainable fashion influencers partnered with us. We were becoming a name. In March my phone rang. Unknown number again. Lena. This is Victoria from Greenstyle Market. We'd like to discuss acquiring your platform. My stomach dropped. We're prepared to offer $4 million. Full acquisition. You'd stay on for 2 years as a consultant. $4 million. Life-changing money. Retirement money. Proof was right money. I could pay off debt, help Brianna and my team show my parents I'd made it. I need time to think, I said. I called Julian. What do you think? He laughed. I think. You didn't build this to cash out at $4 million. You built it to change the industry. But only you know what you want. I spent a week running numbers, talking to my team, imagining different futures. Then I called Victoria back. No, we're not selling. Pause. Lena, be realistic. We're bigger, better funded. We can outlast you. Take the money. No, I repeated. We're building something different. Something you can't buy. I hung up feeling terrified and exhilarated. I just turned down more money than my parents made in a decade. But it felt right. We weren't done yet. Not even close. 2 months later I noticed something wrong with our numbers. Revenue was growing but our profit margins were shrinking. Inventory was disappearing. Small amounts but consistent. I hired a forensic accountant. 3 weeks later she delivered her report. Someone had been siphoning money through fake vendor accounts. Small transactions that added up to $50,000. The trail led to Marcus, our operations director. The man I trusted to build our logistics systems. I confronted him in my office. Brianna present as a witness. Marcus didn't deny it. I needed the money, he said simply. Medical bills. My kid's sick. I was going to pay it back. Anger and betrayal crashed through me. You stole from us. From the designers who depend on us. From our team. We fired him immediately. Reported him to the authorities. But the damage was done. Brianna looked at me with disappointment. You hired him. You trusted him. How did we miss this? She was right. I'd been so focused on growth that I'd missed the warning signs. The team lost faith in my judgment. 2 people quit within a week. Our designer community heard rumors. Trust eroded. Sales dip. We spent April rebuilding systems, adding controls, regaining trust. It was exhausting. And expensive. We lost 3 months of momentum. I worked 18-hour days trying to fix everything. One night, alone in the office at 2 a.m., I broke down crying. Maybe my parents were right. Maybe I wasn't built for this. Maybe I should have taken the $4 million and walked away. But morning came. And I got back to work. By summer we'd recovered. New systems were in place. The team was stronger, more careful. And I had a new idea. Instead of just hosting designer stores, what if we created our own exclusive collections? Limited runs of pieces designed specifically for our platform. We could control quality, margins, and storytelling. I pitched it to the team. Half loved it. Half thought it was too risky. Brianna was skeptical. We're a marketplace, not a brand. Stay in your lane. But something told me this was right. We found an amazing designer named Kara, just graduating from Parsons. She designed a 12-piece collection using deadstock fabrics. We photographed it beautifully, told the story of each piece, and launched it on a Monday morning. Sold out in 6 hours. We did another collection in August. Sold out in 3 hours. September. 90 minutes. Suddenly we weren't just a platform. We were a destination. Brand. Sales doubled. Then tripled. By November we were doing 2 million in monthly revenue. We raised prices. Hired more designers. Launched a waiting list. Fashion magazines started featuring us. We got press in Vogue, Elle, and Refinery 29. My inbox exploded with interview requests, speaking opportunities, and investment offers. I ignored most of them. But the attention changed something. Became more confident. More demanding. I pushed my team harder. Made faster decisions. Some were brilliant. Some were disasters. I started making choices without input. Ignoring advice. Believing my own hype. Brianna tried to talk to me. You're changing. You're not listening anymore. I brushed her off. I'm the founder. I know what I'm doing. I was wrong. Very wrong. December hit like a truck. I pushed too hard on growth. We'd taken on too many designers without proper vetting. Quality slipped. Customers started complaining. Return rates jumped. Reviews turned negative. Then our website crashed during our biggest sale of the year. We lost 200,000 in revenue in one day. Designers were furious. Customers were furious. My team was exhausted and frustrated. Julian called. You're losing the plot. Remember what made you special. The careful curation. Personal touch. The community. You've lost that. He was right. In chasing growth, I'd abandoned our values. Sales dropped 20% in January. We had cash flow problems. Designers started leaving again. I lay awake at night, my parents' words echoing. You'll never make it. You're not built for this. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'd just gotten lucky, and now luck was running out. Then my phone rang. Another unknown number. Lena. This is Alexander Novak. I run Vertex Capital. I've been watching your company for 6 months. I'd like to invest. Alexander offered $3 million. But unlike other investors, he wanted to help, not control. I think you've made some mistakes, he said bluntly. But I believe in your vision. Take my money. Fix your operations. Get back to basics. I'll give you space to do it right. I wanted to say yes immediately. But something made me hesitate. What's the catch? He smiled. The catch is you have to accept that you need help. That you can't do this alone. That being a founder means admitting mistakes and learning from them. Thought for 3 days. Then I called him back. Okay. But I have conditions. Alexander's investment came with strings I didn't fully understand at first. Yes, I got $3 million. Yes, I kept control. But he wanted a board seat and influence over major decisions. For the first few months it was fine. Alexander was smart, connected, and helpful. He introduced me to potential partners. Helped us negotiate better terms with vendors. Brought strategic clarity. Then he started pushing for changes I disagreed with. He wanted us to expand faster. Launch in Europe. Double our designer roster. We need to move fast before Green Style Market or another competitor catches up, he argued. But I knew fast growth had nearly destroyed us before. We need to stabilize first. Build strong foundations. Then scale. We fought in board meetings. He'd override my decisions, using his board influence. He brought in consultants who didn't understand our culture. He pushed for metrics that valued growth over community. By April, I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. Alexander didn't want to help me succeed on my terms. He wanted to mold the company into what he thought it should be. I talked to Julian. Can I buy him out? Julian ran the numbers. You'd need at least 4 million, plus legal fees. Do you have that kind of capital? I didn't. Not even close. I was trapped. The company was succeeding financially but losing its soul. Our community felt it. Designers complained about new policies. Customers sensed the shift. We were becoming what I'd sworn we'd never be. Just another platform chasing growth at any cost. I spent sleepless nights trying to figure out an exit strategy. Then an unexpected opportunity appeared. Rather owe money to a bank than owe my soul to an investor who didn't share my vision. My team was relieved. "Welcome back," Brianna said and hugged me. We refocused on what mattered: our community, our designers, our mission. And something amazing happened. Without the pressure to grow at all costs, we grew anyway. Authentically. Sustainably. The way I'd always wanted. By October we needed a big win. The loan payments were starting to hurt. We were profitable but barely. Then I had an idea that felt crazy but right. What if we did a massive, one-day sustainable fashion festival? In-person shopping, designer meetups, panels about sustainable fashion, live music. We could charge admission, drive sales, and build community simultaneously. Everyone thought I was insane. "Lena, we're an online platform. We don't do events. We don't have experience with this." But I couldn't shake the feeling. We booked a warehouse in Brooklyn for November 15th. Invited 50 designers. Lined up speakers. Hired vendors. Spent $60,000 we barely had on production. If it flopped, we might not recover. The week before, ticket sales were slow. We'd sold 300 tickets. We needed 2,000 to break even. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I bet everything on this. Then, 3 days before the event, something shifted. A fashion influencer with 2 million followers posted about us. Then another. And another. Tickets started selling. Yes. By the day before the event, we were sold out. 4,000 people. The festival was chaos and magic. Designers sold out their inventory. Attendees were engaged and excited. We trended on social media. Fashion publications covered it. We did 300,000 in sales in one day. More importantly, we cemented our position as a movement, not just a platform. But Green Style Market noticed. 2 days later, they announced their own festival. 3 times bigger. A-list celebrity hosts, corporate sponsorships, and a direct challenge. They scheduled it 1 week before ours next year. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Green Style Market's festival was a spectacle. They had millions in backing, celebrity appearances, massive media coverage. Compared to them, we looked small and scrappy. Our designer community was worried. "Can we compete with that?" they asked. I wanted to say yes confidently. But honestly, I wasn't sure. Then Green Style made a mistake. They sent cease and desist letters to 20 designers who worked with both platforms. They claimed exclusive rights, demanding designers choose. The fashion community erupted. Designers hated being controlled. They valued freedom, creativity, independence. Green Style's heavy-handed tactics backfired spectacularly. Designers' Puba financial firm reached out about a growth loan. They'd lend me $5 million at favorable terms if I could prove consistent profitability and growth trajectory. The catch? I'd be personally liable if the business failed. It was risky, possibly stupid. But it was my only path to independence. I worked with our finance director to build a case. Our numbers were strong. We'd bounced back from the December crisis. We were profitable again. Community engagement was recovering. The firm approved the loan in June. I immediately called a board meeting. "I'm buying out Alexander's stake," I announced. Alexander laughed. "Lena, that's not how this works. I don't want to sell. You don't have a choice. Your shareholder agreement has a clause allowing buyback at fair market value. I'm exercising it." His face went red. "This is insane. You're taking on massive debt. You'll sink the company." "Maybe. But it'll be my company to sink." The legal process took 6 weeks. Alexander fought every step. But the contract was clear. By August he was out. I owned the company again, along with Amanda and my employees who had equity. The debt was crushing. $5 million plus interest. But I'd lickly denounced them. Articles called them out for bullying. The narrative shifted from scrappy underdog versus established player to authentic community versus corporate machine. We didn't have to say anything. Our designers defended us. Our community rallied. And in the backlash, something beautiful happened. We became the clear alternative. The ethical choice. The community that valued creators. Applications from designers tripled. We became more selective, which made designers want in more. We raised our standards, which improved quality. We focused on storytelling, which deepened connection. By February, we'd overtaken Green Style Market in designer applications. By March, we matched them in monthly sales. By April, we exceeded them. They had more money. We had more heart. And in sustainable fashion, heart mattered. Alexander called me out of nowhere. "I was wrong about you," he said simply. "You knew what you were building better than I did. I'm sorry. It was the apology I didn't know I needed." "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot. For what it's worth, I've been telling everyone I know to watch your company. You're going to be huge." Then Green Style Market sued us again. This time, they claimed our festival infringed on their event concept. They wanted an injunction preventing our next festival and seeking damages. It was absurd and vindictive. But it was also expensive to fight. We were back in court, burning money and time. My legal bills hit $200,000. We had to delay product launches, postpone hiring, and cut costs everywhere. The stress was crushing. Some days I couldn't get out of bed. But we fought, gathered evidence, documented everything, showed clearly that our festival concept existed before theirs. 9 months later, the judge ruled in our favor. Green Style Market had to pay our legal fees and issue a public apology. But more significantly, the judge's ruling included harsh language about Green Style's pattern of anti-competitive behavior. The press coverage was devastating for them. Their CEO stepped down. Their investors got nervous. Designers left in droves. Within 3 months, Green Style Market shut down. Their investors had pulled funding. Their team disbanded. Their platform went dark. We'd won. Not through aggression or deep pockets, but through persistence, community, and staying true to our values. The sustainable fashion marketplace space was ours. But victory came with exhaustion. I'd spent 2 years fighting instead of building. I was tired, burnt out, ready for something different. Then an industry analyst published a report valuing our company at $18 million. Suddenly everything changed. The market crashed in August. A recession hit the fashion industry hard. Luxury spending dropped. Sustainable fashion, considered a premium category, took a massive hit. Our sales fell 30% overnight. Designers panicked. Several shut down completely. Our careful profitability evaporated. We were losing money again. I had to make impossible choices. We cut staff by 20%. Reduced designer commissions temporarily. Paused expansion plans. Every decision felt like betraying our values. But I had to keep the company alive. Then I had an idea born from desperation. What if instead of premium sustainable fashion, we pivoted to accessible sustainable fashion? What if we proved you didn't need to be wealthy to shop ethically? We launched a new category. Second-hand and upcycled pieces. We partnered with designers who worked with dead stock and recycled materials. We introduced a rental program. We created a repair and resell marketplace. The fashion industry thought I was crazy. "You're devaluing the brand," consultants warned. But our community embraced it. Sales stabilized, then grew. We weren't just surviving the recession. We were thriving. Because we'd made sustainable fashion accessible when people needed accessibility most. By December, we were profitable again. By February, we'd exceeded our pre-recession revenue. By April, we'd doubled it. We'd found a new model that was more resilient, more inclusive, and more aligned with our mission. And my parents noticed. They sent an email. "Lena, we've been following your success. We were wrong about everything. Can we please talk? We want to apologize properly. We want to be part of your life again." I stared at the email for days, unsure how to respond. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part remembered being 12 years old, desperate for their approval. I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop. Neutral territory. I arrived early, my heart pounding. They walked in looking older and uncertain. We sat down awkwardly. Dad spoke first. Lena, we were wrong. About everything. We let our own fears and limitations blind us to your potential. We hurt you deeply, and we're truly sorry. Mom's eyes were red. I've read every article about your company. I'm so proud of you. Not because you succeeded, but because you had the courage to try when we told you not to. You were braver than we ever were. It was the apology I'd needed for years. But it felt complicated. Thank you for saying that, I said carefully. But I need you to understand something. You didn't just doubt my business idea. You made me doubt myself. For years, I heard your voices telling me I wasn't good enough. That nearly destroyed me. They nodded, tears forming. We know, Dad said. We can't undo that damage. But we'd like to try to build something new. If you'll let us. Thought about it. About forgiveness and boundaries. About family and chosen family. I'm willing to try, I said finally. But slowly. With clear boundaries. You don't get to be involved in my business. You don't get to offer unsolicited advice. You get to be my parents if you can figure out how to do that supportively. They agreed. It wasn't perfect. Healing never is. But it was a start. Over the next months, we slowly rebuilt our relationship. They came to company events as guests, not critics. They asked questions instead of offering opinions. They met my team. And slowly, carefully, something like family began to form again. By fall, we were unstoppable. We'd partnered with a major retailer to create a sustainable fashion section in 500 stores nationwide. It was a massive deal, our biggest yet. The partnership would put us in front of millions of customers. We'd supply the platform, the designers, the curation. They'd provide the retail footprint and the infrastructure. We negotiated for 3 months. The contract was worth $12 million over 3 years. I signed it in October, my hands shaking. This was it. We'd made it to the big leagues. The rollout happened in November. 50 designers featured in stores across America. The response was overwhelming. Sales exploded. We did $4 million in revenue in November alone. December, $6 million. January, $7 million. We hired aggressively, built out our team, moved into a beautiful office in Soho. I was featured in Forbes 30 Under 30. Fast Company called me an innovator. I spoke at conferences sharing our story. And through it all, I thought about the girl who'd walked out of her parents' dining room 3 years ago, humiliated and determined. She'd built something impossible. Then my phone rang. Another unknown number. Lena. This is Olivia Price from Horizon Capital. We've been watching your company for 18 months. We'd like to discuss acquisition. We're prepared to offer $30 million. $30 million. I asked for time to think. This time was different. I'd built something sustainable, valuable, and true to our mission. Maybe it was time to cash out. Or maybe it was time to bet on ourselves one more time. I spent a week in agony. $30 million would change my life forever. I could pay off all debt, take care of my team, prove to everyone who doubted me just how wrong they'd been. But selling meant giving up control. Horizon Capital wanted to scale aggressively. They changed things. Make it more commercial, less personal. I talked to everyone. Julian said to trust my gut. Brianna said she'd support whatever I decided. My team was split. Amanda, my first investor, surprised me. Lena, you've already won. You built something incredible from nothing. Whether you sell or not, you've proven everything you needed to prove. So ask yourself, what do you actually want? I sat in my office late one night, looking at the city lights. What did I want? I'd started this to prove my parents wrong, to show I could succeed. But somewhere along the way, it became about more than that. It became about building a community, changing an industry, creating opportunities for designers who'd been overlooked. If I sold, all that would change. The mission would become secondary to profits. I called Olivia the next morning. Thank you for the offer, but I'm not selling. We're building something that matters more than money. Pause. Lena, be smart. This is a massive opportunity. We could make you very wealthy. I'm already wealthy in the ways that matter, I said. We're staying independent. I hung up and felt lighter than I had in years. We weren't for sale. We were building something permanent. 2 months later, another analyst report came out. This time they valued us at $42 million. We hadn't sold, and we'd increased our value by $12 million in 2 months just by staying the course. Then someone from my past reappeared. Marcus, the operations director who'd stolen from us. He'd served 6 months, paid restitution, and now he was starting a competing platform. He called me directly. Lena, I wanted you to hear it from me. I'm launching Sustainable Style. I learned everything from you, and now I'm going to do it better. No hard feelings. My blood ran cold. Marcus knew our systems, our strategies, our designer relationships. He could replicate everything. Worse, he could position himself as the reformed underdog, the guy who made mistakes and deserved a second chance. He launched 2 weeks later with backing from anonymous investors. His platform looked suspiciously similar to ours. He reached out to our designers, offering better terms. Left. I watched in disbelief as press outlets covered his redemption story. They painted him as someone who'd learned from mistakes. Me. I was the unforgiving boss who wouldn't give second chances. It was infuriating. But I'd learned something from years of fighting. Don't engage. Don't give them oxygen. Just build something so good they become irrelevant. We doubled down on innovation, launched new features, strengthened designer relationships, improved customer experience. We didn't mention Marcus or his platform publicly. We just kept building. And slowly, the narrative shifted. Designers realized Marcus's platform lacked the community we'd built. His terms were better on paper, but the support, the culture, the mission weren't there. Everything came to a head in March. A major fashion conglomerate, Stellar Brands, approached with an aggressive hostile takeover attempt. They owned dozens of fashion companies and wanted to add sustainable fashion to their portfolio. They started buying up shares from early employees who'd vested their equity. They offered current employees huge bonuses to leave and join them. They poached 3 of our best designers. They launched a smear campaign, claiming our supply chain wasn't truly sustainable. It was coordinated and vicious. I called an emergency all-hands meeting. We're under attack, I told my team. They're trying to destroy what we've built. But here's what they don't understand. We're not just a company. We're a community. They can offer money. We offer meaning. They can copy our model. They can't copy our soul. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to fight back with everything we've got. We launched a transparency campaign, opening our entire supply chain to public scrutiny. We published every vendor, every process, every certification. We invited journalists to visit our facilities. We challenged Stellar Brands to do the same. They couldn't. Their other brands relied on questionable labor practices. The scrutiny backfired on them spectacularly. Press turned against them. Consumers boycotted their other brands. Designers publicly condemned them. 1 year later, I stood in front of a packed auditorium. We were announcing our official valuation, $22 million in annual revenue, and the company was worth an estimated $55 million. But numbers didn't tell the whole story. We'd created opportunities for over 300 sustainable designers. We'd diverted millions of pounds of textile waste from landfills. We'd proved that ethical fashion could be profitable and accessible. My parents sat in the front row. Natalie was there too, genuinely proud now. After the presentation, Mom hugged me tightly. "I'm so sorry we didn't believe in you," she whispered. "You were right about everything." Dad shook my hand formally, then pulled me into a hug. "You're the bravest person I know. I'm sorry I was too scared to see it." Felt good. Not because I'd proved them wrong, though I had, but because I'd proved myself right. I'd trusted my vision when everyone doubted it. I'd persisted through failures, lawsuits, betrayals, and impossible odds. I'd built something meaningful. That evening, I gathered my team for a celebration. Brianna raised a glass. To Lena, who never gave up. Even when she probably should have. Everyone laughed. Julian video called in from across the country. You did it, kid. You changed an industry. I looked around at the people who'd believed in me. Who'd shown up when success wasn't guaranteed. Who'd become my real family. We did it, I corrected. None of this happens without all of you. Later, alone in my office, I thought about the girl who'd walked out of that family dinner 4 years ago. Humiliated, angry, determined. She'd wanted to prove everyone wrong. Instead, she'd proved something more important. That success isn't about validation from people who doubted you. It's about building something that matters, with people who believe in you, and staying true to your vision even when the whole world says it's impossible. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Lena, this is Casey, your old friend. I saw the news. I'm sorry I doubted you. You were right all along. I smiled and put my phone away. I didn't need apologies anymore. I didn't need validation. I had something better. A company I'd built from nothing, a team that felt like family, and the knowledge that I'd bet on myself when no one else would. And I'd won. Not just money. Not just success. I'd won the right to define my own worth. To build my life on my terms. To prove that the only person's belief you truly need is your own. That was worth more than $20 million. That was worth everything.